My castaway this week is an actor. Still only 36, he's one of a highly successful group of performers who came via Cambridge and the Footlights to the London stage and television. He's probably best known for his partnership with Stephen Fry, playing the idiotic Bertie Wooster opposite Fry's Jeeves for ITV, and starring with him in their comedy series for the BBC. But his versatility and originality extend well beyond that. He's rowed for Cambridge in the boat race, can play almost any musical instrument he wants, and has just written his first novel. None of this seems to make him happy. If a thing's worth doing, he once said, it's worth getting absolutely miserable about. He is Hugh Laurie. You're obviously, by the sound of it, Hugh, one of life's warriors.
Yeah.
This is a gross understatement.
I suppose I am, yes. I find happiness, I get uncomfortable with happiness. I think if things are going too well, I start to worry, you know.
So you worry about every part
absolutely,
you do?
Yeah.
Everything,
absolutely
your
everything.
writing, anything?
I could worry about the colour scheme of this room. I could, absolutely everything.
Why do we imagine, then, why do we perceive you as being kind of relaxed, witty, urban? And Stephen Fry, too, actually, of course, who turns out to be a great warrior.
Yes, I don't know. You know, of course I get lots of pleasure from performing. I'm trying to think when I got lots of pleasure from performing, but there must have been times.
But what do you worry about? You're worrying about not being up to scratch, eh?
Yes, absolutely.
All the time?
All the time.
And is that something
about someone just saying fraud, you know, calling out from the crowd, "Oi, where do you think you're going?"
Has it got worse with success? You know, I mean, the greater your reputation, the higher you've got to strive to keep it up.
Well, it got worse in one very swift step when I decided to do it for a living. I used to get a great amount of pleasure out of performing at school and university, you know, as an amateur. I used to have a lot of confidence. I used to think, I know I can do this. I can stand on a stage with virtually nothing and no idea what I'm going to say or do, and it will be all right. I can make it work. And as soon as I started doing it for a living, it all changed. I don't know why. And one of the strange things that happened was that I had always thought of audiences as being female in character. And when I started to do it professionally, for some reason they became male. And they became competitive. They became an adversary that had to be conquered. And I imagined rows of men with their arms folded saying, go on then. And I actually have to confess, I used to get very aggressive about audiences. And Steve and I, we'd both come off stage going, ooh. You know, we would absolutely seethe with rage, and if we felt we hadn't triumphed.
So is there nothing at all in your professional life that gives you pleasure?
Finishing things. I love to finish things. Almost any amount of pain is worth the pleasure of coming off stage or finishing writing something that's caused you a lot of grief. It's the banging the head against the brick wall. It's so nice when you stop.
So it's a beautiful moment until the judgments roll in.
That's right.
No judgments on a desert island. Presumably you'll be happy to escape to one.
Very happy, indeed. My wife is rather worried about how happy I would be. I think I have an extremely intense fantasy life, I'm afraid. In fact, it's too intense in some ways. It's almost debilitating. It actually stops me from doing things because I'm able to fantasize so accurately about what it would be like to win Wimbledon or be the Prime Minister or climb Everest that I actually never bother to try and do any of these things.
So you can sit on your island and do it. Tell me about the first record.
The first record is Muddy Waters. I have to confess, I could quite happily have chosen 8 Muddy Waters records. He is the musician who I have listened to most of in my life and has meant the most to me. It's very difficult to choose one. I've gone for a track called I Want to Be Loved.
I said that you're probably best known for your Bertie Wooster portrayal, although I dare say some people would argue that your roles in Blackadder rather put you on the map. But tell me about Jeeves and Wooster, Hugh. Was there ever any doubt which Fry and Laurie would play which, Jeeves or Wooster?
Not in our minds, no. It seemed pretty obvious, really, that Stephen has a wiser countenance, I think. He is a sort of darker, more authoritative look.
Yeah, but he could play an upper-class twit, couldn't he?
Yes.
Could you play a solemn sage, I suppose?
Oh, heck, you're saying he could play both and I could only play one. Oh,
there goes the inferiority complex. But I suppose, yes, it was obvious. He's got the dark brown voice.
The dark brown voice, exactly.
Whatever
and he's an inch and a bit taller and, you know, generally more imposing, I think.
And he's older than you and he's richer than you and
yes.
all those things.
All those things.
Had you always been a Woodhouse fan?
I came to Jeeves and Wooster pretty late, in fact, but had always absolutely adored Woodhouse. And therefore, we were extremely nervous about taking on something as loved as Woodhouse. I mean, he has such a fanatical following.
And also because Dennis Price and Ian Carmichael were very much set in the nation's mind as being Jeeves.
Although that was 20-something years before, but even so, it had still remained in people's minds as definitive.
And apparently it didn't go down well in America, which is strange.
It
really,
went tremendously well with critics, but the Americans didn't really go for it. I think it's too verbal, really. I mean, one has to remember that we are divided by a common language. And to the average American audience, I think, get in the car. That's a line. That's a line they can understand. Get in the car, or I'll blow your brains out, or whatever it may be. But, sir, I shall endeavour to effect a burglarious entry. It may as well be Swahili to them. I think they actually do not hear it. They can't actually understand it.
But they managed with Upstairs, Downstairs. That was hugely popular, wasn't it?
Yes, that's sort of, yes. There are people going, my darling, and kissing each other. And that's, I suppose, more melodramatic in a way. I'm no expert on Upstairs, Downstairs. Yes, all right, okay, so they loved Upstairs. Why didn't they like us then? I thought I got away with that.
Because you weren't any good.
That's right.
It's terribly good.
That's
4 series, are there going to be any more?
No, there aren't, unfortunately. A variety of reasons. I started to go bald. That was pretty galling in the 4th series.
I can't see it, have you?
Yeah, well, I'm quite tall, you see. I get away with it most of the time. But somebody had to swoop in before takes and sort of dust my pate, which is, we felt was sort of inappropriate for Bertie somehow. And also, we had gone through the stories so quickly, having dispensed with the narrative voiceover and having reduced the novels really to plots, a lot of which, it has to be said, repeat themselves. We had ripped through them so quickly that there wasn't a lot left, actually. We had filleted the oeuvre. That's rather a pleasing phrase. We'd filleted the oeuvre pretty quickly.
Record number 2.
This is the opening of, now I don't even know how to say this, it doesn't come up very often now that I have to say it. Bruch. I've never known. It's a violin concerto in G minor. It's partly to show that I'm cultured, although I'm not actually cultured, I'm a raw Philistine. But this is one of the few pieces of classical music that I could countenance on a desert island. It's just an absurdly romantic piece, and I love it.